Hey everyone, it's Michael GoosebumpsFan. I just wanted to thank Joe, my boy Joseph, in one of my community posts for reminding me about the monthly Q&A. I've only done it a couple of times so far. I usually do it on the last day of the month. Of course, you're seeing this one. Almost forgot this month because I've had so much going on in my life, man. I want to apologize up front for taking like a whole week to get a book review out for you guys. It used to be a few videos a week and sometimes 2 days or 2 videos on the same day that I upload something. It has been a nightmare here lately trying to get stuff recorded and books read. I'm still sitting in the middle of The Barking Ghost, which I'm really enjoying so far. Not my favorite, but it's good. And I have been swamped, dude. I mean, completely swamped. But welcome to the Q&A for April. It is the final day of April, and that's pretty cool. Of course, this weekend starts off May. How wild is that? We're almost 6 months into the actual year of 2021. Almost halfway away from 2020. Yeah, it's been an odd time. Anyway, yeah, it's been a little weird. Of course, I said in my last Q&A, I'm only going to do about 5 to 6 questions, somewhere in there for this particular Q&A. And from the future ones on, we'll kind of see what happens. I ramble a lot. For anybody out there who's had to sit through that, of course, I put the timestamps down in the description in case you want to jump to a certain question, just to try to help you guys out. And any questions that you might have, I want to let you right now, and I'll try to remind you at the end of the video, if I remember to put your questions in the comment section of this video so that I can answer those next time on May, whatever, 29th, 30th, 31, whatever that last day is of that month. So, yeah, do that if you have any questions that I'll answer here for you. And it can be about anything. Goosebumps, not goosebumps, whatever, anything. Life stuff, life advice, whatever you'd like. So remember, this Q&A is not just goosebump stuff. So I've been so busy, man, between work. Now our work has changed policies. Everybody used to always start on Mondays, and you would train them that Monday onward throughout the week. Yesterday I go into work, it's a Wednesday. Well, I'm recording this on a Thursday, but yesterday on a Wednesday I go in, and they had like 3 new people start that night, and I was having to train one of them. Not that I have a problem training people. I like learning more about people and talking to people and stuff. I like making friends when I can. So that wasn't so bad, but it was the idea of starting during the week now. They're doing that, so the training just takes up all my time. I don't really catch up on videos. Man, Goosebumps Completionist, one of my favorite YouTubers in the Goosebumps community, has put up like 7 or 8 videos since the last time I watched any of his stuff. And I cannot get caught up. I've been so bogged down with so much to do at work. When I'm training somebody, I don't really like to have my headphones in. But it's been busy. It's been super busy, dude. So I've been kind of all over the place. I've been spending a lot more time in God's Word. I have a 1611 facsimile version of the KJV here that I really, really love. I've been digging into this. Man, I just got this like last weekend. I've just been so stuck into it, dude. I love the old way this is written. I like how the U's are spelled out with a V instead from that old 1611 17th century English, the way it was written at that time. I really love that. I'm really digging into that. Trying to delve more into God's Word, draw closer to Him. Just because I've had such a weariness here lately. Just all kinds of little things. We've had a lot of family stuff going on here lately with my wife and I's family and stuff. So it's been kind of hectic. A lot of issues coming up that have just been a lot. So if you're a Christian, please pray for us. We really need that. But anyway, getting to the Q&A. After that little bit of rambling there, I tried to reel it in a little bit. All right, question number 1 is from Muhammad Ali, a friend of mine who comments on a lot of my stuff. Thank you so much for your support, dude. I really appreciate you. Also, he's doing cartoons and animation, so if you want to reach out to him and subscribe to his channel, he'll probably be down in the comment section of this video, more than likely. He's doing mostly shorts with little cartoon stuff, so check him out. It's not Goosebumps focused, but still. What were the best years to grow up, the late 90s or the early 2000s? Man, this is a hard one. I love both. That was my time frame. I was born in 94, so I had a lot of the 90s to kind of grow up a little bit. The 90s were when Dragon Ball Z was huge. You had stuff like Ed, Edd n Eddy kind of come out like 97, 98, I believe is what it was. Most of my TV exposure came in the early 2000s. I was not really allowed to watch TV unless it was with my parents until about 2000 or so, when I was about 6 or 7. In my bedroom, I only had like a VHS player attached to my TV, so I watched Star Wars: A New Hope over and over and over again on VHS tape. I used to have like Scooby-Doo cartoons on VHS tape that would have advertisements for a show called Ed, Edd n Eddy, which I fell in love with when that came out. So most of my exposure to shows like Ed, Edd n Eddy and my personal all-time favorite cartoon, Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, those were all in the 2000s. Courage the Cowardly Dog, I believe, was a 90s show too, but it kind of, for me, I believe it got popular more in the 2000s. Johnny Bravo was a 90s thing. I'm not really sure which one I like more. Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, and a lot of stuff I love, like Transformers Armada. Man, if you saw Armada, that was so good back in the day. I don't know how it would hold up now. But it was great back in those days. I have my ring on my middle finger, by the way, because my fourth finger is too skinny for my ring now. I've lost a lot of weight, so it's kind of just falling off all the time. I don't want to lose my ring, dude. I'd have a panic attack. That happened to my grandfather when my grandmother passed away, and he about just died from that. So I don't want to go through that, in case you're wondering why it's on there. Anyway, yeah, for me it'd probably be the 2000s. That's where most of my cultural exposure came from. You had the Kids WB Saturday morning cartoons and stuff. Dude, that was the time to be alive as a kid. The times now as a kid just suck. They're so bad. Even to me, the 80s cartoons and stuff aren't as good as the 90s and early 2000s cartoons. In my personal opinion, it's probably blasphemy to you, but that's what I feel. Anyway, thank you for the question, Mohammed. I think this person's name is Raiyan. It's Raiyan Iqbal. Or Iqbal. I'm not really sure how to say that name. Forgive me. Anyway, he's a person I haven't seen comment before. I don't know if he's been a lurker on the channel or if he's a newer subscriber that commented recently the last month or so. Anyway, thank you for the question, buddy. Have you ever watched any of the Transformers movies? If so, what are your thoughts on them and the director Michael Bay handling that property? Michael Bay is phenomenal at the advertisements of those things, how to give an audience what he thinks they want. If they like the first Transformers movie, he just ups that and keeps going. However, I find personally the quality of those movies going up and down. I like the first one a lot. It was the first one that came out. Not the first Transformers movie ever. We had the original 80s film with Judd Nelson playing Hot Rod, which is probably my favorite. I love that one so much. It's so great. It's phenomenal. If you haven't seen that, it's animated, but it's excellent. It's so good. And it's part of the G1 canon of cartoons. And the movie is sad, but it's so good, and just the music from, like, I think it's Stan Bush and Lion, and, like, I think Weird Al Yankovic did a song for it, too. It was so cool, dude. I love that music and that movie so much. I've watched it so many billions of times on VHS tape and DVD. I still have my VHS tape somewhere of that movie. Anyway, I really love that one the most, and then the first movie that Michael Bay did in, like, I think it was 2007? Yeah. That was solid. I liked it. It has some issues, but I overall kind of like. I hate the parents in the movie. They're just obnoxious, drive me nuts. I'm so glad they got rid of that. Then Revenge of the Fallen came out, and it was rough. I liked it when I was a kid, but the more I watch it now, the more I'm like, wow, this is a horrible, horrible mess. But to be fair, in my opinion, it is nowhere as bad as The Last Knight. Have you seen The Last Knight? It's unbelievably horrible. It basically killed Transformers when it came out. They tried to fix everything and save it with Bumblebee, which I loved. I think Bumblebee is the best of those live action ones. I love it to death. It's so good. But he didn't direct that one. Michael Bay actually didn't have his hands on that. I don't know if he produced it or not, but he wasn't involved with that one. But I hope that his series just kind of dies where it was with The Last Knight, because these movies have no canon anything. Everything contradicts itself. Bumblebee contradicts those movies. It's like a soft reboot, but sort of kind of not at the same time. None of it makes any sense, but it doesn't really matter. I don't really care. It's a kid's property, but it's also not treated like that because of the sexual humor and stuff that's all over the movies. Anyway, when it comes to the third film, is it Dark Side of the Moon? I really like that one a lot. I think it's really good. My personal favorite before Bumblebee came out was the fourth movie. What was it called? It's the one with the Dinobots. Anyway, it's the fourth movie. I like that one a whole lot. I actually love it. I think it's not perfect. It's a very long movie, but it's the one that had Mark Wahlberg, and it's fantastic. It's really solid. People give it such a hard time, dude, and it was so good. I genuinely love it. Age of Extinction, that's what it was. I was so surprised when I saw Age of Extinction, because I figured it would be a piece of crap compared to Dark Side of the Moon, which I thought was really solid, very well formed, a little long. All of these movies are a little too long. But Age of Extinction is like the longest of all of them. I really dig it. And then they ruined that with Last Night. And I don't know why Mark Wahlberg got involved with The Last Night. It was just horrible. It is so insulting, man, to everything from The Legend of King Arthur being treated as like a real thing to just, it was stupid. It's horrible. Anyway, I love Bumblebee. That's my favorite right now, following that with Age of Extinction. I don't mind those movies. I think Michael Bay knows how to be a person to sell merchandise, and those movies blew up with merchandise. Between the toys that I still have to this day from when I was a kid in 2007, I wasn't really a kid. I was like 13, 14, something like that, but I still loved it. I still have the toys from all those movies pretty much, and I was glad that they brought back the original voice actors for a lot of stuff, including the guy who plays Optimus Prime. Is that Peter Weller? No, that doesn't sound right. You know who I'm talking about, though. The guy who does the voice for Eeyore and did the voice for Optimus Prime in the 80s on the G1 cartoon. Love him. He's great. I'm glad he came back. There's a lot of great things they did right and a lot of horrible ideas they had in there for a kid's movie that really kind of ruined things. The death of Jazz is the most irritating thing I've ever seen in my life in the first movie. There's no reason it should have went the way it went. We should have had more of an emotional build-up to that. We did not. He got like 2 lines in the whole movie and it was torn in half. It's just... It ain't perfect. That's what I'm trying to say. The series ain't perfect, but I do enjoy them a lot. Anyway, thank you for the question, buddy. Steven Sarnowski. I haven't seen this guy comment before either. I don't know if he's newer as well, so welcome, Steven, if you're not. If you are, whatever. For the Give Yourself Goosebumps series, do you read each book multiple times to see all of the different types of stories, endings, or do you just choose 1 or 2 endings and move on to the next book? So, for me, what my method has been, I've talked about this a couple of times when I talk about GYG books. A lot of the time what I do is I have like a stack of bookmarks. A ton of them, like we're talking like 20 bookmarks, because some of these books, especially the first of the special editions, I think it's Into the Jaws of Doom, I believe is what it's called, has like a skeleton T-Rex on it. That one takes place in a museum, and like every page has like 2 different scenarios. So like you might go to page 151A and B on page 151. And that's not options to choose from, that's where something else might send you over there. So instead of going to each individual page, that at the bottom of that page it says 2 different options to go to another page, this one will take you to pages that will have 2 different options on the actual same page. It's really weird, I don't like it. I've had a huge issue with that when I reviewed it. I ranted nonstop for like 19 minutes about that. Really messy, bad book. But anyway, when I read these books, I usually use a ton of bookmarks. I've had a huge stack build up over time of just different things, maybe Bible verse bookmarks and so on, just to use those. So as I go through, if I hit a page that I have to make a choice on what page to go to next, I mark that with a bookmark, and then I go to that next page, the one I choose, and I usually start with the top option. Like I'll go to the next top one, read from there. If it's another choice, put another bookmark there. That's what I do, and I'll work my way backwards into my stack. I kind of have, I know this is going to sound nerdy as all hell, but I have my bookmarks kind of in order, you know? You could put numbers on them, I guess, if you wanted to. I don't do that, I just have the designs on them so I know what I'm looking for in order. So I kind of work my way back up in order to the last choice I made from each bookmark I placed in order. I know it sounds really geeky and stupid. That's what I do, usually. So it helps me get through the whole book. I just read the whole thing. I know that a lot of stuff kind of ties over. Some books have this way over here that kind of circles back and takes you to a place you already read to, and that's fine. I just kind of stop reading that path at that point unless I move on to the next bookmark and find something else I haven't touched or ran to that path yet. That's kind of what I do. I think it helps tremendously. A lot of those books start off with two different options to take you on 2 different ways throughout the book. One of my favorites being, what is that one camp book? Welcome to Camp Run for Your Life? Something like that. You know what that book is. It's the one with the like half-dead kid on the front cover. It's really creepy. It's like kids sitting around a campfire. One is like a half-skeleton-faced dude. It's really eerie. Really eerie for kids' books. That's how I read them. I use bookmarks on every single one, all over the books, and then I just read all of them until I'm done with bookmarks and I have no bookmarks left. So that's my recommendation on that. If you want to read the whole book and read all the endings, because I try to get all the endings. Some of the books are glitched out though, where it's like they didn't plan out everything thoroughly enough, or something changed in the editing process they didn't catch, where you'll have a dead end and you don't get to a thing you need to get to. I found out there's a couple of books I've read that have done that, or at least one of them for sure, that I've reviewed, and I mentioned that in the review, and I had people like Spongy, who's one of the commenters that constantly helped me from the Goosebumps wiki stuff. He told me that the wiki even said like, hey, there's flaws here, that's happened there, there's missing pages here, there's this or that. So be prepared for that even if you use my bookmark method. I think it's still going to cause issues, but still, I think the bookmark method is the best way to go. You don't have to keep reading the same pages over and over again and trying to remember where you left off at. It's a little too complicated to me. Now the only problem with the bookmark thing is that it does crowd up your book. It can ruin the spine. It can kind of stretch out the book a little bit. If you don't like that kind of thing, if that bothers you too much, just take a notepad or a piece of paper or something, just write down what page you were on and what option you chose, and just go back to that when you can. That's my personal opinion on it. I think it's the best way to go if you don't want to do the bookmarks. Or use really thin bookmarks, like tear off pieces of paper and use that. Try to use longer strips though so they don't fall out of the book all the time. But anyway, let me know what you think. If that helped you out at all, Steven, I'd love to be able to help you if I can. But that's my method for when it comes to reviewing the GYG books. I feel like you shouldn't review a book unless you've read the whole thing. Like, you don't have to read word for word, but read the book, read the entire plot, be able to give a relatively decent summary of that. I have a hard time retaining a lot of information here lately, so when I read these books I have to write notes now to keep myself up to date with things. to remember things, because sometimes I go like 4 or 5 days without reading the book because I get so busy or so tired, something like that. Anyway, thank you for the question, buddy. Long answers only. What time is it right now? I think we've done this for like 15 minutes or 20, something like that. Nate Daley, do you script your videos or do you improvise? This video alone should be proof that I improvise. I keep notes, like I was just saying for the last answer. Keep a couple of notes myself now. I used to not do that, and I feel like the reviews suffered immensely from that, because I would forget big details like who was related to who, or if somebody had a dead parent, I would forget all kinds of stuff. So it's like, even now when I watch movies, I don't have enough time to watch a movie straight through. Most of the time unless it's on a Friday night when I come in to relax and stuff and hang out with my wife before she goes to bed. That's about the only time I can watch a whole movie all the way through and have the time for it. So a lot of the time I have to take notes if I'm going to review something, to just try to keep myself mentally prepared for what I need to talk about and remember things I might have forgotten. I'm really bad about that. My memory is not the best. If you met my mother, I love my mother to death, but she has the worst memory I've ever known of anybody. So yeah, they're not scripted by any means. If it looks like I'm looking around, it's usually because there's a window right there, and because I'm looking at my camera and I'm looking at the camera hole right here with the camera actually at me, then I'm looking at the screen on the side. It's always running all over the place. So it's not a script. It's definitely improvised. People can vouch for that because I stutter so much. Not that a script would help that. Anyway, my buddy, oh, by the way, Nate, thank you so much for your question. Stephen Chavez, one of my really good buddies that comments on a lot of stuff, he says, have you read any Japanese manga? Dude, I love some manga. Man, I've been working on Death Wish for like 3 years. I love it to death, but I honestly believe, dude, if you've read Death Wish, not seen the show, I haven't seen the show, I've seen the Netflix movie, which is good, in my opinion, but it's not close to how the book actually is. If you have read Death Wish, it's like 6 volumes if you get the double books that are called like the Black Edition. They have like 2 books in one. I'm telling you right now, the Death Wish manga is so great, but it's like, I get so emotionally upset, not because of like crying or anything, but just so stressed out and tense because of how these books just stay on top of you all the time, beating you down, because there's so much happening, so much stuff happening. And there's so much that's happened recently in the books that I'm just like, as I read them, I think I'm like volume 3 or 4 right now, I get so overwhelmed I have to take breaks for like 6 months every time I read one of the books because I get so stressed out. And it never fails. I'll finish one and then I'll pick up the next book because I'm so antsy to get into the next storyline or the next part of the story. And I will read like 50 pages and then put it down. Or halfway through the book and just put it down because I get so stressed with it. I cannot handle constant stress like that. Those books stress me out. So I love Death Wish. Probably my favorite manga I've read so far. I did find one that I bought maybe a year ago that I haven't read yet. It was like a killer fish thing. Like I remember just opening a book and seeing fish everywhere and they ate like some dude's face or something. It was wild, dude. So I'm going to read that at some point. Growing up on anime, like again, Dragon Ball Z, I watched the rest of Naruto last year for the first time. I love all that stuff, I really do. So like fighting manga, I'm not too crazy on. I've been reading Dragon Ball Super and it's a lot better than a horrible cartoon, dude. I hate Dragon Ball Super. It's just like, it's unbelievably bad. Like GT ain't perfect. Don't get me wrong. Dragon Ball GT is not perfect, but I like that way more than I like Super. I have tried my best to work my way through Super's anime, and I had to quit. I don't like any of the, is there 3 movies? Yeah, there's 3 movies now. I don't like any of the 3 movies they put out for Dragon Ball Super. I think all of them suck. I hate the new Broly. I think he's a tiny shrimp. I think all the CGI animation is awful. I hate that stuff. They have ruined Dragon Ball Z in my opinion. But I watch Dragon Ball Z all the time. I genuinely love that. I'm rewatching the last season right now on DVD. And the orange sets, they're not perfect, but I have them. So I would vouch for that, but yeah. But I grew up on things like Gundam as well. I'd like to read some of the manga of that if I ever could. I know that Metal Gear Solid was like a comic apparently before it was a anime, or not anime, video game series, so I might try to pick up those mangas at some point if I can. But yeah, I like it a lot. I don't read it actively just because I don't have a whole lot of time to read comics anymore, or pretty much anything outside of Goosebumps and my Bible. But still, if I had more time, I would read a lot more manga, I think, because I enjoy comics a lot, and I really like manga because I like the continuous storyline a lot of the time. Not sure I'm not sure if I'd ever start something like Fairy Tail or One Piece. Not that I have anything against those, but like One Piece has been running forever, and like Attack on Titan, I read the first book. I hated the first book. I think the show's better than the book. It was like the art was so messy, dude. I could not understand what was happening half the time in that. It was like the first time I read Dark Knight Returns. It was like I couldn't understand what was going on here. Some of the art didn't depict things. It was so sloppily done sometimes. Not that I hate Dark Knight Returns or think it's sloppy. I'm saying some of the art, I can't really understand what's happening there. There's like the car crash scene that I'm like, I can't figure out what I'm looking at. Anyway, Steven, thank you for your question and your comment, but your question mainly. Yeah, love some manga, dude. I recommend it if you haven't read any manga. It's pretty good, especially if you're a big comic book lover like myself. Anyway, the final question here is from the Mario Bros. Productions. What would be your ranking of the Friday the 13th movies from least favorite to favorite? I am not brave enough to do this off the top of my head because I would ramble to death about it. So I decided to write a little list down on my phone in another note that I'm going to read through right now. I'll give you my little thoughts as we go through. So if you don't care about Friday the 13th, the video's over. Goodbye. Anyway, number 11 is Jason Goes to Hell. It's horrible, and I hate it. I think little demon Jason doing body hopping is stupid. I'm not going to spoil too much about these movies, but that's the one that I'm like, I hate that movie desperately. Now, the part 10 is going to give me a lot of flack. Or, number 10 is going to give me a lot of flack. That would be part 3. I cannot stand Friday the 13th part 3. I think it is awful. I know it's the movie that gave Jason the mask. I don't care. I hate it. I think it's one of the most boring movies I've ever seen in my life. I think it's the most boring of the whole series. Now, mind you, Jason Goes to Hell is horrible in context of everything else we're seeing from that series. But part 3 is just awful, period. It's just like, when it comes to killer chasing people on the campgrounds movie, that slasher type of movie, it sucks. I hate it so much. There's not really any blood to it. It's just, I'm like the only person on the planet aside from Alex Edwards from Skeleton Crew Show that hates it. You know, I can't stand it. It's the only one I don't own. I kicked my camera. I'm sorry, guys, if the camera's sitting sideways now. Oh well. Number 9 is Jason X. I personally love Jason X. From this point on, I pretty much love all the movies. I'm a huge Friday the 13th fan, but this is one of the ones that I've loved since I was a kid. I know it's not perfect. I know it's more of a comedy, but man, this is a good comedy. It's so horrible. It's so fun. It's not like on par with something like Leprechaun 4, where they're in space as well. It's like, it's actually fun Jason killing people in spaceship type of situation. I really like it a lot. I recommend it a lot. Number 8 is Part 8, Jason Goes to Manhattan. It ain't perfect, but it's maintaining what it is. They're in New York City for like 5 minutes. Like most of the movie is Jason steals a boat. So, it is what it is. I like it a lot. I don't hate it, but it ain't perfect. And it didn't have any blood in that either, from what I remember. I don't think there was any blood in that movie. It was weird, though. The music is good. It's a very 1980s movie. I like it a lot. It's the one before Jason Goes to Hell, which is also Jason Goes to the worst series ever at that point. Anyway, Part 7 is my number 7 pick. Part 7 is the one that's basically Jason Voorhees versus Carrie, you know, from the Stephen King book. And I really like that one. I think it's a really fun one. I don't know why people hate it. I know that there's the problem with, like, literally no gore once again. It was all taken out because of the, who is the people? The censors. Anyway, whoever the censor people are, their rating scales and stuff are like R ratings, PG-13 ratings. I forget who they are. Those people censored it out so much, it took so much of the blood and gore out of it that it's like ruined. It's not as good as it could have been. If you've seen the Crystal Lake Memories documentary, that's like 9 hours long, it's fantastic. It covers all these movies super in depth, even down to the remake from 2009. And I recommend that highly if you're a Friday the 13th fan. I don't have that documentary on this list, but that's pretty high up there too. It's very in-depth, very lengthy, a lot of interviews from people. Corey Feldman is actually doing the hosting for the show, which is very rare that he's actually there, but he's doing a lot of the hosting for it, asking questions and stuff. That was pretty cool. I liked all that. Anyway, number 6 on my list is Part 1. Yes, the original Friday the 13th. It's not aged very well, but I do love it. I do think there's some great memories I have with that movie. I love the nighttime scenes where people are kind of wandering around in the rain towards the last night of their lives. I really love that. I think it's just the ending of that movie changed movie history in a lot of ways. The way Psycho changed history with movies. So in my opinion, it's a really great one. I highly recommend that. I recommend watching these movies in order too, in my personal opinion, from 1 onward. They do vary in quality, but to me, they're mostly consistent until they get to about number 8. You know, and then they're kind of just dead from that point on. All right, moving on to my number 5 spot. This one's going to be like Blasphemy too. I have some reasons for why I like some other films much, much more than this one, but this is the scariest in the series, possibly, compared to another one that I love that I'll talk about in a minute. I really, really like this one. It is part 2. Friday the 13th Part 2 is my number 5 pick. I really dig this one. I think it's, again, scary. It's Jason with the satchel head thing, the mask, potato sack, whatever. And it's pretty effective. It's honestly eerie. It has some really great atmosphere stuff. When he's chasing Alice, is it Alice? Whatever her name is in the second movie. When he's chasing her, there are scenes where he's like right there, like right on top of her. And you don't realize how close he is to her. And it gets to me sometimes when I watch that one. I don't know what it is about why that one of all these movies is so effective. But in my opinion, that's one of the scariest, if not the scariest. Moving along to number 4, my number 4 pick is Part 6, which is like the revitalization of the series after what Part 5 had put a lot of fans through. Now at this point you're probably seeing a lot of heresy from you guys that are Friday the 13th fans. I've been a fan of the series all of my life. I have very different opinions from most people on these movies and what I think are the best in my opinion, and ones that are nostalgia-based favorites for me. Remember, we're going off favorites, not like quality. We're going off favorites here. Part 6 is hilarious. It's so good. This is I think this is before Kane Hodder did a series. Yeah, because Kane Hodder did Part 7 and 8 and 9 and 10, which is all the way up to Jason X. And this one is before him, and this Jason is fantastic. I love the actor who played him. I don't know who it was, but he was great. He's effective, he's fun, he's scary, he's humorous. I think the humor in here is fantastic. I like that they kept the Tommy Jarvis story going. That was pretty cool. Yeah, I liked it a whole lot. I like that they brought back Corey Feldman again. Anyway, number 3 on my list is Friday the 13th 4, The Final Chapter, which I really love. I think the gore in this movie is like beautiful, dude. If you like gory movies, if you like Friday the 13th movies, and you for whatever reason have not seen Part 4, you must see Part 4, The Final Chapter. Yes, it's not really the final chapter, but it's amazing. It is so horrific to watch. Tom Savini came back to do the effects, and so they're brutal. They're absolutely brutal, dude. Great movie. Really love that one. Now, my number 2 spot. Again, these 2 picks for number 2 and number 1 are probably going to be heresy to most people. In my opinion, these are my 2 favorites of the series just because of my nostalgia for them. I'll get into why. My number 2 pick is the remake from 2009. I'm telling you, people have not given this movie the benefit of the doubt. If they had sat down and watched this with the beginning of the movie cut off, the whole remake thing of the original movie's twist ending and stuff, if they had removed that, this would be another Friday the 13th movie. There'd be no reason to not call it Friday the 13th at that point. Just another sequel. It's fantastic. It's tense. It's, in my opinion, kind of scary at times. The problem that I have is that it has the issue of Quentin Tarantino's... What is that one movie he made? It was the double flick he did with the guy who made Machete, Robert Rodriguez. What is that movie called? It was the Grindhouse films that he made. Whatever, Death Proof. That's what it was, Death Proof from Quentin Tarantino. If you've seen that movie, you know how like halfway through the movie, something happens, and it's almost like we restart all over again. And I hate that. I hate when movies do that. If you want to piss me off, do that with your movie. They do that in that movie. They do that in this movie too. You get like 20 minutes into the movie, and then it just stops and restarts all over again with something else. And I love the movie dearly, I really do, but that's a big issue that I have with it. I think the gore is really solid. I think Jason is freaking intimidating. My personal Jason's in this flick, Derek Mears' Jason. He's a fantastic actor. He was in the Hills Have Eyes remake, or remakes. I think it was just the first one. Derek Mears is terrifying as Jason. He's so good. I still have my Fangoria magazine release from when they showed the pictures from this thing. I remember when the trailer was coming out, and they had all the videos online, the trailer stuff. It was so exciting, dude, as a fan of Friday the 13th when I was a kid growing up. And I think I was about 14, and I think it came out on Valentine's Day too, I believe, because my cousin, you know, his birthday is on Valentine's Day. And me and his mom and her boyfriend went to go see this movie together in the theater, and we had a blast. It's still fun to this day. I still love it. I do not get the hate for it. What is his name from Supernatural? I love his name so much. I'm always talking about the guy. I love him to death. Anyway, one of the guys that plays Sam from Supernatural is one of the main characters, if not the main character in here. And he's great. He's great. He's looking for a sister who's been kidnapped, and he kind of stumbles across some other kids, and so on and so on. I love his motorcycle in the flick. I just really like him. Danielle Panabaker, I believe, is also in this as well. Yes, the Disney girl. Yes, from Flash. She's in this as well, and she's great too. Let's see. That's really all my ramblings for it. I really love that stoop kill with the sheriff and the fire poker. I love that. That was brutal, dude. Anyway, moving along to my number one pick. I know this is probably blasphemy to most people, and I won't tell you why in case you haven't seen the movie, but most people hate this movie. It's Part 5, A New Beginning. I love the sleazy nature of this movie. I think it is so fun and crazy and zany, and people have not forgiven this movie almost 30 or 40 years after it came out. And I think it's a crime that people have not forgiven this movie by now, because it's great. It's fun, it's silly, it's over the top, it's wild. When you look into the making behind the scenes of this movie, you understand exactly why the movie feels the way it does. And I love it. I think it is so rewatchable. And the thing is, I saw this movie for the first time with my grandfather. It was one of the films I had never seen in the series. For whatever reason, my Hollywood video that we always rented movies from did not have this movie. I saw all the other Friday the 13th movies, did not see this one. Didn't know I'd missed out on it. And one day I was hanging out with my grandfather. I think it was during the summer, and I think it was raining outside. And we were just hanging out, and he knew I liked this kind of stuff too. So we were watching like AMC, I believe is what it was, flicking through stations. And Friday the 13th Part 5 was on, and I got to the ending of the movie, like the last 10 minutes, and I was dumbfounded by the twist in this movie. It completely shocked me. Again, I'm not going to tell anybody about the twist, but it blew my mind, and I loved it. And I've loved it ever since. I still think it's one of the most effective. I think it's one of the most gory and horrific films in the series. Yeah, it got a lot of the gore chopped out of it, but still, I think it's super effective. So anyway, thank you for the question, my friend. Yeah, that's pretty much the summary of the Q&A. I'm sorry it's been on for like a 45-minute period once again. I keep trying to limit these down, but then people ask for rankings, and I want to do them because I'd like to get that out there for the record and just have something new to talk about that's not Goosebumps all the time. Anyway, sorry for a limit on Goosebumps questions this time around. I just thought I wouldn't do a whole lot of that. But even so, hope you enjoyed the Q&A. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for all the support. Dude, we're almost at 1,400 subs. I saw that yesterday. I hadn't been on the channel for a couple of days. And I looked and I was like, what happened? Where's everybody coming from? Apparently all of a sudden my channel's just getting either recommended or people are finding this from friends that are recommending them. I don't know what's happening there, but for all you new folks here that have come up, the random 20 or 30 people that have just shown up this last month or this last couple of days or weeks or whatever, thank you so much for being here. I hope you're enjoying the content. I hope you're having a good time the way we all typically have a good time in this community. And yeah, if you have any questions you want me to try to answer next time on the end of May, the last day of May, please put them down in the comment section down below. I would love to try to get around to those. I can't promise you'll have your question answered, but if you keep reposting them, eventually I will get to those questions you're asking. So anyway, thank you for watching, guys. I appreciate you so much. I love you guys. I pray for you guys all the time. And I hope you have a good day. I'm having some nice weather now. It looked like it was probably raining earlier, but now it looks like it's kind of sunny outside. So I'm going to enjoy that before I have to go to work. I'm going to try to read some more of The Barking Ghost as well. So anyway, I hope to have a review out for you this weekend. I'm going to try my absolute hardest. My wife and I have been running every weekend, non-stop doing stuff, trying to travel over to another area to see her father because of a lot of stuff going on with him. So, not to get into too much detail, but our weekends have been jam-packed, always traveling, always out of town. I don't really like to take my books with me. When I do, I don't really get time to read them because I get so tired by the end of the day. So we pretty much just go straight to bed on the weekends lately. But this weekend we're staying home and just relaxing. We might have a nice dinner out somewhere. I'm not really sure, but that's probably what we're going to do is just hang out inside. I'm going to try to get some reading done. It'd be nice to get 2 book reviews done this weekend. I'm not going to hold my breath and promise it to you because I don't think it's going to happen. But if it does, you're welcome. But I doubt it. But maybe. Anyway, thank you for watching, guys. Thank you for being so patient with me. I appreciate all your patience and your prayers, too. If you're a Christian, pray for us. Again, we need that. Our families need that because we have so much going on family-wise. It's always something, dude. God. Anyway, thank you for watching for the billionth time, and God bless you. Goodbye.